What's up, boys and girls? Muzzafuzza here, playing some more Diablo 3 beta once again, doing another guide video. Today it's going to be an active skills guide for the monk class, and I'm on my level 13 monk. I've got a badass little bow staff with a cool enchantment on it here. I've got some rare items. I got a rare ring, some rare pants, a rare belt, just some regular old cracked shoes. I don't know why I'm wearing those, but I'm on my monk. We're going to be doing an active skills guide for the monk, and you can see my skills down here. I've got Exploding Palm, Lashing Tail Kick, Mantra of Retribution, and Cyclone Strike, and I'm going to show you guys Cyclone Strike just because it's badass. Oh yeah! And then Lashing Tail Kick is like a roundhouse kick to the face. Come on. Come on. There we go. There we go. So as you can see, the monk skills are actually pretty cool when you pick the right ones, but I'm going to go ahead and hit S. We're going to open up the skills menu, and today we're going to be doing an active skills guide, so I'm going to open up the active skills, and just like any other class in the game, you've got three different trees, three different skill trees for the monk. Spirit Generator at the top, Spirit Spender here in the middle, and then you've got your mantras, or however you want to pronounce it, down here at the bottom. And you've only got 4 of those total. So I'm going to go over all the active skills and what I think about them, and we're going to jump into this guide. So let's do it. The first active skill in the Spirit Generator tree is called Fists of Thunder. Generate 6 spirit per attack. Attack a single target with a series of rapid punches. And it's got a cool little animation where you got lightning coming out of your fists. And if you guys didn't know, Spirit is your resource that you use as a monk. I've got 150 out of 150 Spirit down here. It says generated by monk melee attacks and some monk skills. Spirit is a precious resource used to cast powerful defensive and offensive abilities. And it does slowly regenerate, but it's really, really slow. So you've got to kind of rely on using at least one Spirit Generator skill and your active skills to get your spirit back so you can use really powerful spirit spender abilities. But we're going to get to those later. But as far as the first one goes, Fists of Thunder, I wouldn't use it. It only hits one target, and you're better off using something that hits multiple targets. So we move on to the second one, which is Deadly Reach. Generate 6 spirit per attack. Strike multiple enemies in a row with each attack. This one's cool because it does give you deadly reach. It makes it so you're punching way out in the distance, and it gives you a little bit of like a wave of force that hits people far away, and you can hit multiple targets with that one. So that's when you start to hit multiple enemies at a time. Moving on to the third one, Crippling Wave. Generate 6 spirit per attack, sweeping punches that cripple enemies, reducing their attack and movement speed. And I think all of these generate 6 spirit per attack, so I don't have to keep saying that. But Crippling Wave, it slows people down, slows their attack and movement speed down. So I'm guessing it's probably pretty useful for fighting fast attacking enemies or in PvP. But other than that, I probably wouldn't use it because I use this next one, Exploding Palm. Strike and bleed an enemy. The enemy will explode if killed while bleeding. So it's kind of like the 5-point pound exploding heart technique from Kill Bill, if you guys have ever seen that movie. If you haven't, I would recommend it. Basically, you do a series of attacks, and then on the third attack, it puts a little bloody palm above your enemy, and if they die while they're bleeding, they'll explode, doing AoE damage and explosion damage to everybody in the range. And that's the one I'm using right now, and that's the one that I love using the most out of these Spirit Generators so far. But we got 2 more to go. Moving on to Sweeping Wind. Unleash a tornado of punches that damages all nearby enemies. So not only does this do like a cone in front of you, it damages all nearby enemies, even people behind you. So this is a cool area of effect attack. It's probably the first straight up AoE attack that you get in the Spirit Generator tree. And it says a tornado of punches, so I'm excited to see what the animation looks like on that one. You get it at level 17. Moving on to the final Spirit Generator ability, it's called Way of the 100 Fists. Strike groups of enemies with a series of devastating punches. This one doesn't really give too much of a description. I don't know exactly what it'll do, but it says strike groups of enemies, which means you'll be doing lots of AoE damage with a series of devastating punches. And it says the Way of 100 Fists, so I don't know if it'll send a bunch of fists flying out for you in a big cone in front of you, or else it'll do maybe some AoE damage all around you with fists flying everywhere. I don't really know. But we move on to the second tree, which is the Spirit Spender tree. The first skill in this tree is called Blinding Flash. Costs 10 spirit, it's got a 15-second cooldown, and it blinds all nearby enemies for 3 seconds. And I've used this in big groups of enemies, like 20 plus enemies, and it blinds all of them. And as far as I know, blind is an incapacitate effect where they can't attack you at all with melee, ranged, magic attacks, can't do any of that for 3 seconds. So this is really good for trying to get out of like a sticky, bad situation where you're about to die, or it's really useful for a PvP situation. Like if you're playing Arena, you can blind and get out of there and make it so your Barbarian takes all the damage rather than your Monk. Because your Monk is like your healer, he's like your support character. And that's the first skill in that tree. So we move on to Lashing Tail Kick. Costs 30 spirit. A deadly roundhouse kick, good against small groups of enemies. And this is actually a big knockback cone in front of you. I'll do the Lashing Tail Kick right now so you guys can check it out. Boom, it's like a big-ass Chuck Norris roundhouse kick to the face right in front of you, and it sends any enemies that are in front of you flying. It doesn't really work on like big boss mobs. I don't think knockbacks work on them at all, but for big groups of small enemies, it'll send them all flying, and knockbacks are pretty cool. I really like that Lashing Tail Kick, roundhouse kick technique. Moving on to the third active skill in this tree, Breath of Heaven. Costs 50 spirit, which is a third of the spirit that I have right now, 150 total. And it says, heal yourself and nearby allies. So this is your heal, and it also heals any nearby allies. So it'll heal your companion. Like with me, I've got my handy-dandy Templar chilling here next to me. And if you're playing in Arena or if you're playing co-op, doing dungeons with your friends, it'll heal them as well. So that's your heal ability as the monk, and healing is going to be a big part of the game. So Breath of Heaven will be pretty useful, but I don't have it on right now because I just play solo on the beta usually, so I don't really need to heal anybody. Moving on to Dashing Strike, costs 15 spirit. Quickly dash and strike an enemy. Now this only costs 15 spirit, so it's probably not going to be very high damage. I've played around with it a little bit, and the coolest thing about it is that it just sends you flying across the map. Like you can cover a large distance in a short amount of time with this because you literally just dash instantly to whatever enemy you're targeting with your mouse pointer. So it's pretty good for dashing around and being really mobile, but it's not the best damaging technique. Moving on to Cyclone Strike. Costs 75 spirit. Mystical forces pull enemies towards you and blast them. This one costs 75 spirit. It's really high damage. I think it's something like 250% weapon damage or 275%, I think. It used to show exactly how much weapon damage that the abilities do, but it doesn't really show them right now in this version of the beta. But they might bring it back. I don't know. They might do more detailed descriptions of the abilities. But as of right now, this is my favorite ability on the monk, and it's really, really high damage. And it actually pulls any enemies that are within like 10 yards of you. It pulls them all up close to you and then blows them up with the Cyclone Strike. So I'll show you that now. Boom. Pretty cool ability. Nice little AoE explosion for you. Moving on to Inner Sanctuary. Costs 20 spirit. It's got a 30-second cooldown. Create a runic circle that enemies cannot enter. So it creates a little circle on the ground that enemies can't come through if you need to go somewhere for kind of a safe house. And it also makes it so that you can do it for your allies. So if your wizard's about to die and you need to save him, you'll cast down an Inner Sanctuary in a circle, and he can run to that circle and kind of recuperate and get his arcane power and his health back before he jumps back into the fight. So that's a pretty cool little useful ability that's kind of unique to the monk class. I don't really know any other skill on any other class that's like that. So that's Inner Sanctuary. Moving on to Tempest Rush. Costs 30 spirit. Run through your enemies, damaging and knocking them down. This is a knockdown. I haven't gotten to use any knockdown abilities in the game yet, but when you knock somebody down, it takes them a while to get back up, and they can't attack while they're getting up. And it'll knock down multiple enemies. So you can run through a group of enemies, knock them all down, and they won't be able to hurt your group for a while. So that's pretty cool. Tempest Rush. It's like a tackle sort of ability. Moving on to Serenity. Costs 10 spirit, 45-second cooldown, become immune to all attacks for 3 seconds. This is useful. I'm definitely going to use this. It only costs 10 spirit. It's got a 45-second cooldown, but that's seriously not very long, and it makes it so that you're immune to all damage for 3 seconds. So if you're up against a big-ass crazy boss mob that does a ton of damage, you can tank his damage for 3 seconds and not take any damage at all. So that's really, really useful, especially if you're doing PvP, like I said, if you're playing in arenas and the other team decides they want to focus you and put all their damage on you and try to kill you, you can pop this and they won't be able to do any damage to you at all for 3 seconds, and hopefully they'll blow some of their cooldowns on you so that your team can win. Pretty useful. Moving on to Seven-Sided Strike. Costs 50 spirit. It's got a 30-second cooldown. Move with blinding speed and strike all nearby enemies while being immune to attacks yourself. Now, I don't know how you're immune to attacks or how long you're immune to attacks, but it says move with blinding speed. So you're going to be dashing all around. It says a 7-sided strike, so I'm guessing it hits 7 times. And it says strike all nearby enemies while being immune to attacks yourself. So that's pretty cool. I don't know exactly how that one's going to work, but it should be pretty awesome to check out. I bet they have a cool animation for that one. Moving on to Mystic Ally. Costs 25 spirit. Mystically summon an elemental ally to fight alongside you. So, yes, it is confirmed. The monks also have a summon. It's called Mystic Ally, and I don't know what it'll be. I don't know what it'll look like, but it says an elemental ally to fight alongside you. So that should be pretty cool, because I love summoning stuff on any class. Moving on to the final one in Spirit Spender, Wave of Light. This one costs 100 spirit. Ring a mystic bell to unleash a wave of light that crushes all enemies in its path. This one sounds kind of weird. You have to ring a mystic bell, which must be some sort of channel or charge up time, and then a wave of light comes and crushes all enemies in its path. So I don't know if this is going to be some sort of a skill shot where you point in the direction that you want it to go, and it does like a giant crushing wave of light that destroys all the enemies. But I know this one's going to be really, really high damage because it costs 100 spirit, which is a lot when you only have 150 spirit total. So we move on to the third and final skill tree for the active skills for the monk, and that's the mantras, and I've got 2 of them unlocked. The first one is called Mantra of Evasion, costs 25 spirit, increases your and your allies' chance to dodge. Pretty basic, just increases you and your allies' chance to dodge. If you want to dodge some melee opponents that you're up against, that'll help that. But I don't really use it because I use Mantra of Retribution. This one costs 25 spirit as well. Enemies take damage when they cause melee damage to you or your allies. So this just gives you a little bit of thorns. If you guys don't know what thorns is, it's whenever you take melee damage, you deal some damage back to your enemies. That's what this mantra does, and I find it pretty useful. It's pretty high damage. I think it's a little bit higher damage than just regular item thorns. So that's the one that I put on, and I'll put it on right now for you guys. Boom. Oh, a little bit of a lag on the animation, but whatever, it's a beta. Moving on to Mantra of Healing. This one costs 25 spirit as well. Increases life regeneration for you and your allies. So this probably gives you quite a nice boost of life regeneration. This one's going to be the one that I use once I unlock it, because life regen is really good. You want to be topped off as much as possible, especially when you get into the harder game difficulties like Nightmare Mode, Hell Mode, Infernal Mode. You're going to want to be topped off at all times because there's going to be boss mobs that can just one-shot you or two-shot you, and that would really suck. And now we move on to the final mantra and the final active skill for this monk guide. Mantra of Conviction. Costs 25 spirit, increases damage taken by nearby enemies. So anyone nearby, and this is anyone nearby your teammates as well, because this game is meant to be played with 4 players running through dungeons together. So anyone nearby you or your allies take increased damage. And I don't know if it's a percentage or if it's an amount that they take increased damage, but this will basically boost up the damage that you do and that all your allies do as well. So that's probably the most useful mantra in the game for the monk. But you guys, that is the end of this active skills guide for the monk class. I hope you guys are enjoying these Diablo 3 videos. The game is going to be coming out soon. I hope you guys are excited. I'm really stoked for Diablo 3. In case you guys didn't know, I'm going to be doing tons of videos on this game when the full game comes out. So if you guys enjoyed this video, leave me a like, favorite, comments, whatever you can do to support the video would be appreciated. If you guys want to hit me up on Facebook or Twitter, I have links to those down below in the description of this video, along with links to a bunch of other stuff too for controllers and control freaks and Netflix free trial, all sorts of stuff down there. So check out the links in the description. This has been Muzzafuzza, and I will see you guys next time.